For 18 years, the Son of God performed not a single miracle. He was simply a carpenter living an ordinary life. What did the Bible hide? 18 whole years were erased from history's pages. The most famous man who ever walked the earth had more than half of his life concealed, censored, or simply forgotten by the sacred texts. Think about it. The Son of God was among us for 33 years, but the Bible only records about 3. What happened during all that time of absolute stillness? Why did the Gospels veil Jesus' youth? These questions have haunted scholars for centuries. Imagine the impact of having records of a teenager who was also divine. Did he make mistakes? Did he have friends? Did he know of his cruel destiny? The silence is deafening. We see him at 12 in the temple in Jerusalem, debating with the teachers of the law, a prodigy aware of his mission. And then the curtain falls. When it opens again, he is already 30 and being baptized in the Jordan River. What transpired in the quiet shadows of those 2 decades? To understand this historical blackout, we need to read between the lines. The void left by Luke, Matthew, Mark, and John isn't an accident. It's a piece of a much grander puzzle. Some say he journeyed to India, others that he went to Great Britain. There are those who claim he spent years isolated in the desert with radical sects. But the truth might be much closer to home, and perhaps far more unsettling for those expecting a fairy tale. Silence distorts our perception. When we lack answers, our minds weave legends. And that's precisely what happened in the early centuries of Christianity. Curiosity about Jesus' childhood and youth sparked a flurry of unofficial texts. Writings known as apocryphal gospels, like the Gospel of Thomas, tried to fill this gap with bizarre stories. Accounts of a child Jesus giving life to clay birds, or in a fit of anger, cursing other children. But the church rejected these texts. Why? Because they didn't align with the character of the man revealed in the 4 canonical Gospels. The Jesus of the Bible didn't use his power for show or personal revenge. So what does the Bible truly tell us about these shadowed years? We have only one beam of light, the Gospel of Luke, chapter 2, verse 52. The text simply states that Jesus grew in wisdom, stature, and favor with God and man. Just one sentence, a single phrase to summarize 18 years of existence. But this sentence carries a monumental weight. It shatters the idea that Jesus was born knowing everything. He had to grow. He had to learn. What must that process have been like? Imagine Mary's quiet wonder, perhaps tinged with a mother's gentle worry. She held the angel Gabriel's prophecies in her heart. She knew who that boy was. Yet, day after day, she watched him sweeping floors, cutting wood, dealing with difficult customers in Joseph's carpentry shop. Ordinary life veiling divine glory. In Mark chapter 6, verse 3, the people of Nazareth are astonished when Jesus begins to preach. They ask, "Isn't this the carpenter, the son of Mary?" That question reveals a crucial truth. During those 18 years, Jesus performed no miracles. He didn't heal the blind. He didn't multiply loaves. If he had done anything supernatural, his neighbors wouldn't have been so amazed by his sudden wisdom. He was simply the carpenter, a manual laborer. But did he never leave that small village in Galilee? Galilee wasn't an isolated backwater as many imagine. Just a few kilometers from Nazareth lay Sepphoris, a bustling metropolis being rebuilt by King Herod Antipas. A colossal undertaking needed workers. It needed carpenters and builders. It's highly probable that Jesus and Joseph walked to Sepphoris to work. There, the young Jesus would have encountered Greek culture, Roman soldiers, and seen extreme wealth and poverty. He witnessed oppression firsthand. He felt the sweat on his brow, earning his daily bread.
The biblical silence conceals a profound, quiet preparation. But the human mind isn't content with a carpentry shop's routine. Where there's a void, conspiracy theories emerge. If Jesus wasn't just cutting wood, where was he? Over centuries, traditions tried to trace the Messiah's lost footsteps. Eastern Orthodox thought often focuses on internal spiritual preparation, embracing silence as sacred emptying. For them, mystery needs reverence, not solving. The West, however, always sought physical evidence. In the 19th century, Russian journalist Nicholas Notovich stirred the world. He claimed ancient manuscripts in a Tibetan Buddhist monastery narrated a young man named Isa, believed to be Jesus, studying with monks in India and Nepal. The idea was fascinating, explaining similarities between Jesus' teachings and Eastern philosophies. But a serious problem arose. Scholars investigated, monks denied the document. Notovich's story was exposed as a fabrication. If he didn't go east, did he go west? British legends, enshrined in poems and hymns, suggest Jesus traveled to England with his great-uncle Joseph of Arimathea, a tin merchant. It's a beautiful story, but not a single piece of archaeological or documentary evidence supports it. What then remains? Many modern scholars point in a far more grounded direction. They look to the Judean desert. An austere Jewish sect, the Essenes, existed then. They lived isolated at Qumran near the Dead Sea, preaching repentance, practicing water baptisms, and waiting for the end of days. Sounds familiar? John the Baptist, Jesus' cousin, almost certainly had contact with the Essenes, their teachings remarkably similar to the Qumran scrolls. Did Jesus also spend time with them? It's a tempting hypothesis, explaining his profound scriptural knowledge and fierce critique of Jerusalem's religious leaders. But if this is true, why do the Gospels remain silent about this connection? The answer might lie in Jesus' own mission. He didn't come to be a wilderness hermit. He dined with tax collectors, touched lepers, lived amidst human chaos. The Essenes fled the world. Jesus dove headfirst into it. There's even a deeper revelation hidden in this historical silence, something that transcends maps and legends. To find the answer, we need to understand first-century Jewish culture. In the tradition of Israel, a man was only considered mature and fit to teach publicly at 30 years old. Priests from the tribe of Levi only began their service in the tabernacle at 30, as we read in the book of Numbers, chapter 4. King David ascended to the throne of Israel at precisely 30, according to the second book of Samuel. It's not a coincidence, it's a divine pattern. If Jesus had begun preaching at 20, no one would have listened to him. He would have been seen as an arrogant young man, disrespecting the natural order of things. The waiting was no mere happenstance. It was a willing submission to the law and culture of his people. But what was he doing as the clock advanced? The Greek word used in Mark's Gospel to describe Jesus' profession is tekton. We translate it as carpenter, but the original meaning is much broader. A tekton was a master builder, an artisan, someone who worked with wood, stone, and iron. Consider the theological weight of this. He who, according to John's Gospel, created the universe with his word, spent 18 years shaping raw material with his own hands. He knew the resistance of wood. He understood the effort required to raise a stone wall. This completely changes how we read his teachings. When Jesus speaks about building a house on the rock in Matthew chapter 7, he's not using an empty metaphor. He's speaking from his own experience. He saw houses collapse in storms because their foundations were weak.
When he speaks of the easy yoke, he knew exactly how to carve a wooden yoke so it wouldn't chafe an animal's neck. The fascinating revelation of the lost years is that they were never truly lost. They were the laboratory of the incarnation. Christian theology asserts that Jesus is 100% God and 100% man, but humanity isn't learned through magic, it's lived. He needed to feel the weariness in his legs. He needed to deal with customers who didn't pay. He needed to mourn the death of his adoptive father, Joseph, who disappears from biblical accounts before Jesus begins his ministry. The ache of grief, the sweat of labor, the patience of waiting. Perhaps we'll never know with absolute certainty every detail of those 18 years of silence. There are no hidden scrolls or secret maps that will give us the exact coordinates of his youth. And perhaps that is precisely the point. If the Gospels had recorded every step of the young Jesus, we would focus on historical details and lose the central message. The Bible isn't a modern biography. It is a record of salvation. The silence of the lost years confront us with our own impatience. We live in an era that demands immediate success. We want to skip steps, to get straight to the stage. But the man who split history in two spent most of his life in absolute anonymity, living like any one of us. He wasn't in a hurry. He accepted the process. The void in the Bible's pages doesn't hide a dark secret. It reveals the profound beauty of a common life, the divinity hidden in the dust of a carpentry shop in Nazareth. The question of where he was, in the end, reveals much about ourselves. It reveals our immense difficulty in accepting that the sacred can dwell in hard work and the ordinary every day. In our next episode, we'll investigate Cain's wife, where she came from, one of the greatest enigmas of the book of Genesis that still challenges the logic of humanity's earliest days.